guys, so a bit of a different video today. Inside this box I've got a 2 kilowatt Chinese diesel heater, just turned up today, and we're going to be going over it, seeing what you get in the box, and hopefully going to be testing it as well, so let's get started. Alright, so let's start unpacking it, see what you actually get in the box. Now, as you can see, this box contains the future of German technology and intelligence. So that's a bold claim to start off with, and I'm sure if you're German you probably got something to say about that. So yeah, what these are, anybody who doesn't know, they're basically, if you've ever heard of an Eberspacher or Webasto diesel heater, they basically run on diesel fuel or kerosene or heating oil and heat air, so people use them in things like caravans, motorhomes. I'm going to be installing it in the Land Rover, just as an additional kind of heating source, and also it means you can do stuff like defrost the car before you get in it in the morning, or I'll be able to pipe heat up into my roof tent eventually as well once I get that installed, which is just a really good thing to have. And Eberspacher, if you go to buy one of those, I think probably you're talking well into hundreds and hundreds, so it's 500-600 quid, and then with installation on top of that as well. These, which are basically a clone of that Eberspacher, you can get for less than 150 quid with everything you need to install it, so you're talking a quarter of the price basically. So that's the first bag I took out. That's a exhaust silencer with some clamps and a few screws to hold it in place. It's a basic little thing that should quieten down the exhaust noise a fair bit. You also get a 10 litre plastic fuel tank. It's got in there. It's got fittings in there for attaching your fuel feed pipe onto. And then this is a plate that you attach the heater itself onto. It's kind of like a heat shield to stop any heat from the heater exhaust pipe getting into the body of the vehicle. So yeah, it's quite important. And we'll leave the heater till last. But this is the kind of accessories box. So in here we've got stuff like our exhaust pipe, flexible exhaust pipe. Hopefully that's going to be long enough for me, but you can extend them obviously, put a joiner in, add some more pipe if you need to. You've got 2 rotating hot air outlets, or as the Chinese describe it in the manual, hot wind outlets. So they can be positioned wherever you want in the car, as long as you've got enough ducting to go to it. For your heating. You get a length of clear fuel pipe. This is 4mm. You can either use this, or I think people have been using 3/16 brake hose as well, like copper brake pipe, which also works. I think we've got in here. So air filter in there, looks like. That's your air filter. That's basically to stop the heater itself sucking up any. This is for the combustion air, so this isn't for the heated air. This is to stop the heater from sucking anything nasty into the combustion chamber itself. It just looks like a simple foam filter you can just about see in there. We've got some big clips, a few bits of rubber hose, little fuel filter in there, a mount for the fuel filter, or it might be for the fuel pump possibly. Yeah, probably for the pump. There's a rubber isolation mount in there for the pump. Loads of hose clips and screws and stuff, so they give you all the fittings that you need, which is pretty amazing considering the cost of it all. A T-piece for your ducting, so this will divide the airflow from the outlet into those two vents that we saw a minute ago. Wiring loom, nice big multi-plug, sealed, that goes onto your heater itself, an inline fuse. These are your battery connections for the main power, and then I think that goes onto the fuel pump. And then there should also be another, there you go, that one is for the LCD controller, what you're going to see in a minute. But yeah, pretty decent. The newer type of heater, which this is, the V2 heater, one of the things that people have noticed is that it's actually got the right size power cable now. So the previous ones had quite thin main power cable, which could lead to a voltage drop at the heater. So this should be a bit better. And we have our little fuel pump. So this is what's going to draw the fuel from wherever you're taking it, either your vehicle tank or your separate tank, and then dose it into the diesel heater. Feels really good and solid. Feels really nicely made. It's got a proper Bosch style plug on it, so yeah, can't be too bad. And then we've got 2 lengths of ducting. Oh, didn't notice that in there. That's our intake pipe. And yeah, this is the hot air ducting. Got 2 lots of that. A couple more hose clips. One thing I would say is that these hose clips really are very, very cheap. They're the type that's got the perforated bands rather than the proper thick bands. So I'll probably say if you're going to be installing this in a vehicle, you'll want to get some better clamps, which aren't too expensive, but it's well worth doing. So yeah, that's all that lot. I'll shift that out of the way. So then the pièce de résistance that we have here is the actual heater itself. Comes in a nice polystyrene box, and there she is. So again, for anybody who doesn't know these, I know there's a Facebook group now with loads of members on it, and it's becoming busier and busier every day. So some people know a lot about these, other people don't. Basically, the original type that they came out with had a plastic shell, very similar to the Eberspacher and Webers that you get, albeit probably a bit more brittle. And then this latest type, the V2, has this rather nice aluminium, cast aluminium, or alloy case as they call it. And it's really actually very surprisingly nicely made. I mean, when I ordered this, I thought it's going to be typical kind of Chinesium tin metal, but it's really, really solid. You can see, and you can see that the thickness of the casting there is really, really nice. Yeah, very impressed. Paint finish is even really good on it. So yeah, it's way better than I thought it was going to be. Basically, it actually feels like a very expensive kind of piece of kit rather than a knockoff. Got a nice laser cut grill there, and then that's obviously your hot air outlet at the end. Multi-plug here for the wiring loom, and then air intake, exhaust and fuel intake there with that little cap on there. So all in all, very simple. Next thing we have, this is the latest type of LCD control that you can get for these units. So the original type, again, either had a rotary dial, which you can still get, or the original LCD was a square black unit. This is more or less the same. It just has a few more features in for things like altitude control, so it can compensate for thinner air at higher altitudes, which is quite a nice feature if you're going to be going up there. And then another new thing, which I wasn't actually expecting to get, I'd ordered the original type of remote, but this is the new, supposedly 100-meter range remote control. This type is also the type that's supposed to be able to control temperature as well. So with these up and down arrows, you're supposed to be able to remotely control temperature on your unit, which is going to be really handy for turning it on in the morning from my bed. So yeah, that'd be really good. Okay, so that concludes everything you get in the kit. I'm going to set it up now with a power supply and some diesel and see if we can get it running. So normally in a vehicle you would use a 12-volt battery to power the unit. Obviously it needs electrical power to power the glow plug and all the electronics, sensor and the LCD screen and things like that. Yeah, obviously in a vehicle you normally have a 12-volt battery. I'm going to try and use this little trusty DC power supply. This is rated to supply 10 amps. Hopefully that's going to be enough, because I've read that the glow plug on startup does draw 10 amps. So hopefully that's going to be enough to get it going. It'll be good because we can also see what kind of power draw we're going to get from this when it's running. So you can work out how long your battery's going to last during running, things like that. So yeah, hopefully that works. Okay. So I think we're now set up and ready to test. So yeah, very briefly, there's our diesel pickup pipe coming into the fuel pump. this pump needs to be mounted in that orientation. The manual says 30 degrees from horizontal, so that's roughly what we've got there. Loom's plugged into the fuel pump there, which goes into the main loom, and then fuel line coming to the bottom of the heater. And then we've got our exhaust pipe coming out there, and then an intake pipe here. And then we've got our LCD plugged into the loom as well, and then 12 volt DC power supply just clipped onto the loom there with a little fuse in there. So in theory, if I hit the switch, she should turn on. So I've got that set to 12.5 volts, 12.6. Yeah, and there we go. LCD's come on. Don't know how well you guys can see that, but it's got a picture of the heater on and a timer. So now I think the next thing to do is to prime the fuel system. So yeah, always make sure you prop up your heater on extremely flammable materials. So yeah, that's part of the guide there. So all the manual says for this is to turn the heater on repeatedly until there's no air left in the fuel line. So I'm going to hit the on button and see what happens. Click, on. It says the fan's going, but it doesn't seem to be. Oh, there you go. Where's heat? Not heat. So we have fan operation. Fuel pump doesn't seem to be doing anything just yet. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Okay, so that didn't seem to work very well. I think what it was is this is actually a 5 amp power supply, so it's nowhere near big enough. So what happened there was, as soon as it tried to kick the glow plug in inside the heater, which draws a lot of current, it overcurrented this, drew the voltage right down to 7 volts, and then obviously everything switched off then. So yeah, this doesn't have enough guts to run it, unfortunately, which is annoying because I wanted to see what current draw we were going to get when it was actually in use. So what I'm doing, I've got a big Mercedes battery there. I'm just giving it a quick charge up, and we'll have to run it off of that. So yeah, so there you go. It definitely draws more than 5 amps. Starting to get some chooch. Makes it a lot quieter. The exhaust is pretty hot now. It smells quite diesely. No smoke yet though. Pump's going really quickly. Starting to get some warm air. It really doesn't smell that bad actually. I thought it would smell way worse than that. Just close up on that for you guys whilst it's running. Right guys, so I've just paired the little remote with the unit, and you can see now, I don't know if you can see the screen just there, it shows the temperature it's set to and the fact that the unit's on standby. Connecting, please wait, so it says it's on standby, and then if I press the on button, dun, 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 click, there we go, turned on. It's brilliant. That's really, really cool. That's the temperature setting. So inside the heater itself, on the icon, there's a little red glow plug icon. When that's on, it means that the heater's heating up. And then after it's done that for a while and the glow plug's got to temperature, you hear the dosing pump start to click, start getting heat coming in, and then you start to hear a slight roar from the exhaust, and then you start getting some nice hot air. So yeah, it's really, really simple. You can see that I can change the temperature on here. Whenever you press a button, it seems to have to reconnect, but I can change temperature on here, and you can see it's changing on the screen there. I'm really happy with that. That's awesome. There you go, you can hear the pump's just started now. This also will tell me the ambient temperature of wherever the controller is, so I'll be able to tell from wherever I'm turning it on. So for example, in the morning when I set it up, I'll be able to see what temperature it is in the car, and then hit this and I can see the temperature coming up remotely, which is really cool. Yeah, that's probably going to wrap it up for this video. There'll be another one probably in the next few weeks of me installing it into this, but this is just a test for now. I'm really happy with this. This has turned out a lot better than I thought it would, to be honest. You saw me setting it up, just took a few minutes to bleed the fuel through the little pump to get this going. And once it started up, it's run for the last couple of hours. It's warmed the workshop up lovely now. It's 22 degrees in here now, and you can hear it's just ticking away nicely now, just maintaining temperature. And yeah, the remote was easy to pair up. The LCD screen seems fairly easy once you get your head around the controls. No smoke at all. I mean, I think when I shut it down the first time there was a bit of smoke, but it's not too bad. Fuel pump's really, really quiet. You can barely hear that now that it's primed up. It's just a slight ticking noise. Yeah, overall really, really happy with it. So if you guys have any questions about these heaters, I'm on the Facebook group, or you can ask questions down below in the comments and I'll try and answer them. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.